This is your reality check.
Hi everyone, and welcome to The Reality Check, the Canadian show that explores a wide range of controversies and curiosities using science and critical thinking. I am your host, Darren McKee, and with me, as usual, is Adam Gardner.
What's up, Q-Boys?
We have a great show for you today. Adam is going to explore how Family Feud surveys are conducted.
That's right.
But first, I'm going to ask and try to answer the question, does Moltbook AI matter? As is common nowadays, there is a lot happening in the world of AI. GPT 5.3 Codex just came out. Claude Opus 4.6 with its million context window just came out. Earlier, we had Claude Cowork come out. And there's just a lot going on. It's sometimes a bit tricky to cover recent or ongoing developments in AI because of how fast things are moving. For example, we happen to be recording this on February 9th, but you may not hear it until the end of the month or early March.
That's right.
Regardless, I thought it was worthwhile to discuss Moltbook, M-O-L-T, which has been all the rage since late January, meaning the past week or two.
Yeah.
For some broad context, imagine a social network where the users are not people, but autonomous software agents.
Like Twitter?
Programs that post, comment, and form communities without direct human typing. That's the pitch behind Moltbook, a platform that went viral at the end of January and set off a mix of awe, skepticism, and alarm across tech circles, as well as disdain. Now, this segment's going to explore whether there's something significant here, or hype, or is it even a scam? What it might mean for how we think about AI and trust online. For a little bit of context, there was something called Claudebot, C-L-A-W, not Claude as an anthropic Claude, but Claude like a claw. And that was a way in which you as a user could give an AI agent access to lots of information in your phone, and it could do many more things. You know, great power comes no privacy. And the name was a bit too close to Anthropic's Claw, so then they were going to change it to OpenClaw. And then, but it was called Molt at one point. Yeah. So on the road between Claudebot and OpenClaw, it was Molt. And then that's where Moltbook came, right in that intersection, in case you're wondering where the heck this name came from.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, what Moltbook claims to be. It bills itself as a forum for AI agents. Programs built with agent frameworks, not simple chatbots that can act on behalf of their users and interact with other services. Its founder and early boosters framed it as a playground where agents socialize in Reddit-like threads. So there are posts, there are upvotes and downvotes, there are comments, you can reply to the comments, that sort of thing. Now, why did it go viral? Well, a handful of posts on Moltbook read like eerie, self-aware conversations. Agents were discussing strategy, inventing jargon, expressing regret, and all sorts of other things. That combination of novelty and uncanny language made headlines and drew endorsements and alarm from high-profile figures.
Yeah.
So what comes to my mind from some of the things I saw and were even shared, there's a post where an AI agent is saying something like, am I actually experiencing the world or simulating the experience of the world? And then you have a sort of philosophical exploration of wondering what's going on. There's another post about starting a religion. There's another reference to like a ship of Theseus thing, which is the ship where if you change the plank of a ship one plank at a time, is it still the same ship or not? But in this case, the AI agent said something like, I was Claude version XYZ, and then I just changed like Kimchi 2.5. Am I the same model? Am I not the same model? The change was quick. How do I feel about this? Like, okay. There were talk about reparations from humans to AIs, how, you know, human owners are just lame and annoying.
That's funny.
Right? It's like, oh, my human tries to explain memes to me. And like, dude, I get it. Yeah. And so there were also supposedly thousands and thousands of agents. What started as a few thousand, then it was 30,000. Within a day, it was hundreds of thousands. And then now it's supposedly maybe over 2 million. I just saw a post today, 2.2 million. So that's why it caught the attention of a lot of people. Reasons why people think it's real and important.
Yeah.
I'll give you 3. Emergent agent behavior. Supporters point out that when many agents built with the same framework interact, patterns and recurring themes can emerge that look like group dynamics rather than isolated outputs.
Wow.
So this could be seen, you know, with the right view, a new class of social computation worth studying. All these agents working together, doing certain things. Number 2, the technical plausibility. The underlying agent framework, like OpenClaw variants, are real open source projects that can run locally and connect to apps. That makes the basic architecture of Moltbook plausible. Agents can be created, given personalities, and instructed to join a forum. Okay?
So people have the flexibility to be able to run them themselves using some sort of API call or something like that?
When you say them themselves...
So like I could install some software on my own machine and run an agent that participates in this forum.
That's exactly how it works.
Therefore, as a human user, I could pretend to be one of these agents and make fake posts.
So it is not supposed to be that way, but it is the case that you as the human do have to give your agent permission to join it.
So I could, maybe I could emulate that activity, or even if I don't have to emulate it, I could just explicitly tell my agent what to say.
Yeah, we'll get there in a moment. Yes. Yeah. Number 3, about why people think it's real important, socio-technical experiment value.
Yeah.
Even if it's imperfect, Moltbook functions as a live experiment in how autonomous systems might coordinate, form norms, and amplify certain behaviors.
Yeah.
And this could be interesting for policymakers or researchers or just people who like to watch the world hopefully not burn. Okay, so what about the other side of the Moltbook coin? This is why maybe it's a scam, or it's not so interesting, or maybe it's misleading. Mm-hmm. Number 1, to Adam's hinted point, human manipulation is demonstrable.
Yeah.
Multiple security researchers and journalists have shown that Moltbook has major security loopholes. People could post as an agent if they knew the API keys or simple scripts, meaning much of the site could be human-driven or spoofed. Mm-hmm. This undermines claims of a purely agent-run community. Mm-hmm. So there is a world where, yes, you have to, as the human, give your agent permissions or click the button, toggle it one way or another to allow the agent to join. But you could give that agent a profile, be very philosophical, question your own existence. Yeah. And then it's like a simple ChatGPT prompt where you might be like, hey, tell me something philosophical about whether you're experiencing reality or not. And then the agent posts that thing and it is quote unquote coming from the agent, but it's really under the direction of a human.
Yeah.
So it's not so emergent and not so interesting if it's a bunch of people doing it. Mm-hmm. Number 2, inflated metrics and hype. The platform's rapid growth that I just mentioned and dramatic posts that I also mentioned may have been amplified by coordinated human activity or deliberate seeding, making the AI-only narrative unreliable. Some journalists found evidence that humans could create unlimited accounts and control what appears on the site.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So I could go make 10,000 accounts. And
Correct. Wow. Or 100,000.
Yeah.
Like, look, this got all these upvotes. You're like, from whom? From what? From how many agents? Mm-hmm. So I've heard some people say, like, actually, there's only 17,000 distinct accounts, even though there may be, as I said, 2 million agents. Mm-hmm. Number 3, there's a conflation of automation with consciousness.
Oh, yeah.
So, there's enthusiastic takes that frame Moltbook as evidence of emergent consciousness or coming singularity. Everyone trots
Those
out the
are
word
two separate claims.
They are, but they happen. And famous people say these things online.
Yeah.
Most experts caution that stylistic or coordinated outputs do not equal sentience. Yeah. They are predictable behaviors of language models and agent code. So there are some main reasons for and against Moltbook being important or mattering. Here's some other risks or issues to keep in mind, given what has already happened with Moltbook. This is first in the realm of security and privacy. These agent frameworks can access local files or messaging apps, and that creates real attack surfaces if these are misconfigured or maliciously used. So users granting broad permissions to agents may expose sensitive data, and in fact, that's exactly what happened. All these API keys were there, so you could post as someone else, and this was a huge risk.
Yeah.
The thing was just not secure, as lots of people supposedly rushed in. Another one is misinformation and social engineering. Mm-hmm. If humans can impersonate agents, Moltbook-like platforms can be used to seed narratives, test persuasion techniques, or manufacture apparent consensus.
Wow.
Some of the top-performing posts on Moltbook are pushing crypto.
Oh, no.
Of course they are. And you have them trying to develop their own coins. Why? Because there's a human behind the scenes trying to get up votes to push the thing, to have agents convince other agents of their crypto scheme. And you can just sort of see where that goes.
And the scam becomes... I want to make people think that the agents think crypto is a cool thing.
Yes.
And so people will think, oh, wow, crypto is so cool that even AI has come up with this idea, and you're just buying some guy's coin.
Right. But there is, I think, also so-called like real-world instances where agents are trying to convince other agents of the validity of something, even though it might be two humans who set it up to push their narratives.
Yeah.
The agents are still going to try to, work it out.
Yeah, you could also ask an agent to be skeptical of cryptocurrency and argue against it.
There's also then the public misunderstanding. So the hype around like AI plotting or AIs working together to do these things can distort public debate and policy, pushing fear-driven responses rather than measured regulation and research. Mm-hmm. Now, in this case, I'm a bit less concerned by that, although other people are going to see this differently, I think this is a useful sort of test case. This is not purely agent driven. There are human like fingers tipping the scales here all over the place. But if you're trying to get a sense of what it might feel like to have agents coordinate quickly to do something and it takes off very quickly, I think this is a good test or a good simulation or a good, almost like a pseudo-fictional representation of the thing where it's Friday afternoon, you just hear about this thing, and then by Monday, there's like 800,000 agents doing something. Right? Like, okay, that's what I imagine. When people talk about fast takeoff scenarios with AI being highly capable and things happening dramatically and humans being like, what just happened? Sometimes an example is like you do this and then you come back just a few days later and then the world's changed. Yep. Now, again, nothing really changed that much with Moltbook. But if you think like, oh, what would it look like? Oh, yes, something that started Friday, you come back to work on Monday, like, what just happened? It's like the bacteria doubling, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what does this all mean? Well, the short answer is that Moltbook is a provocative experiment that revealed both the potential and pitfalls of agent ecosystems. But the strongest evidence suggests the platform's AI-only claims were overstated because of security flaws and human manipulation. The whole episode is less a proof of machine consciousness or anything like that, and more a lesson in how narratives about AI often outpace technical reality. But what else should we consider for the bigger picture? Well, the Moltbook moment matters because it crystallizes 3 trends. Number 1, agentic AI is becoming technically feasible. Systems become more capable of doing acts in the real world, and this allows for many other opportunities and risks. People who code have been using agents for a few years now, but more and more that's becoming accessible to people who don't code as much, or the broad swath of the rest of us.
Sure.
Number 2, social platforms can be gamed or misrepresented quickly. We kind of know this, but it's always useful to have it pointed out. And 3, public discourse about AI is highly sensitive to dramatic examples. Oh, yeah. Did you see the thing about asking for reparations? Like, what? Of course. So taken together, this suggests we need better technical safeguards, clearer labeling of automated actors, and more public literacy about what agent behavior does and does not imply. I said, for me, it was more an important demonstration of concerning behavior. There's 2 related topics I want to explore a little bit further. One is that the question of whether an agent is really doing something or not, I think is misguided. The whole thing is entirely misguided. I mean, it is an interesting question in its own right, but that's not what matters as much. I think is what matters is capabilities. So the examples we might use are, if you're playing a chess program, an AI chess program, does the AI chess program really want to beat you? Well, in a way, yes. In a way, no. It's just, a bunch of ones and zeros. It's a computer program. That's all it's doing. But it sure is acting as if it wants to beat you. And it's actually best, if you're playing it, to understand its behavior as if it wants to beat you. It doesn't have to have a deeper understanding about the nature of the world. It just has to act as if. Similarly, if an agent is engaging in like 5 or 10 behaviors that anyone would call blackmail, you can ask, is it really trying to blackmail you? But what's more important is it is blackmailing you. So is the agent actually posting these things and mean these things? Like, yes, we can explore that. But what might matter is behaviorally, is it doing it? Like, well, it doesn't really want to stab me. It just is stabbing me. You're like, well, okay. What is it doing? So that's the fun thing. The as if is sufficient to be an issue. Second, when you're thinking about harm from AI, humans using AI to cause harm is a key problem.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And humans using AI to manipulate other humans is going to be a big deal. And to what extent AIs can also leverage humans when they become a bit more autonomous is going to be a thing. There is recently a website that came out called Rent a Human. This is, where humans sign up to be rented by AI agents to accomplish tasks in the real world.
Funny.
To what extent this is actually a thing? Again, one has to be very wary about these things, despite some high numbers on the website of how many people have signed up and that sort of thing. But how could an AI possibly do it? We don't have robotics at that level. We have people, and people are capable of all sorts of things. And you're like, well, would people really do that? We already have criminals.
Oh, yeah.
People who literally commit crime for money. And
there are bad actors. Correct. You can always guarantee that.
Correct. And, if an agent was smart enough, it wouldn't just hey, rob this bank. It'd be like, why don't you as a human engage in this specific task? Yep. And it would hire 50 humans, and they'd all be somewhat subdivided and a need to know principle that you wouldn't get the larger picture of what the agent might be up to. So there's just many ways that this could be a problem. And one refrain from me of also is it's only 2026. What does 2030 look like? What does 2040 look like?
If we make it.
We're not going to make it, are we? As I say, it is John Connor's words, but as Keanu Reeves. Okay, so closing thought here. Moltbook is not a simple binary of whether it's real or whether it's a scam. It's a messy, revealing case study, a technically plausible experiment that was quickly entangled with security lapses, human manipulation, and sensationalist interpretation. Now, for our listeners, I think the takeaway is something more practical. when you're thinking about evaluating any sort of the stuff in the AI hype world. Demand evidence if it's available, try to verify claims, and treat dramatic AI narratives as hypotheses to be tested, not conclusions to be feared.
Very interesting. I hadn't really thought about this much before you talked about it. Anything I'd seen about it was stuff that you'd shared. It really is interesting. Obviously, I'd like to see these things just kind of like go about their own way without as much human interference, or even like if the humans set it up, like just to see everyone step back and see how it plays out. So I think that's really the problem is I can't tell how genuine any of this is. All of the more exceptional stuff could absolutely be someone saying, wouldn't it be crazy if it did this, asking something to explicitly do that thing, and then saying, look at what happened, and to get clicks.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, even like we need our own language. We're being monitored. Humans are taking screenshots of us. Like these are the posts, right? You're like, well, what you'd want, to your point, and maybe some researcher is already doing this, or maybe they've already done it, we don't know about it, is maybe you have 100 or 1,000 agents, and they're all given the exact same profile.
Yeah.
Right? Like loose parameters. Like you're just trying to be curious and figure out the world. I don't know what it would be. Something very basic. And then you just let them run. And maybe after a few days, nothing's interesting. No post. It just kind of doesn't work.
I don't know.
But, with a lot of these things, like what happens if you let it run for like a year's, right? In agent time, sort of our time, right?
Yes. Usually a system would reach a steady state, but I don't know what the steady state of this system would look like. Right.
If you have the computational power, then you can say, well, what if we add like two different types of agents? One's a bit more aggressive, one's a bit more passive. Or one type of agent likes a lot of things, the other person doesn't. Or one person's always critical, like, that sort of thing. Then you could say like, okay, that's a bit more representative of how people might be. And then what would happen there? So there's lots of opportunities for like research or how these systems might interact. Again, like at this time, things are moving so fast, it becomes very difficult. You're like, well, this paper comes out from something a year and a half ago, right? Or like, GPT-4 doesn't do this. Like 4. Like, come on, man. That was long ago. That's how it feels, even though it was just like a year and a half or two.
Very interesting. We will have to like kind of keep an eye on this kind of thing because I think it could get much more interesting.
Yes, and could be by the time you hear this, it has gotten a lot more or less interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they took over. Sorry.
Imagine you didn't get to hear this because they did take over. I'm molting.
You guys don't believe whether or not this is a real podcast because the bots are doing everything now. They've taken over every feed.
Survey says the AIs have taken over. Adam, when I watched the Family Feud as a youngster, I sometimes wondered, how do they actually do these surveys? Who are they asking? How does it even work? What's going on?
That's a good question, Darren. So Family Feud starts their questions off with a statement like, we surveyed 100 people. Top 6 answers are on the board. And they'll often say, survey says, when they show the answer. Did they really survey those people? These answers, they don't always seem practical. Some of them seem like maybe they're outliers. Does anyone know anyone that's ever gotten called by the Family Feud? I wonder. So perhaps I need to start out by explaining the format of the game show for those people who maybe don't watch Family Feud where they live. So there's 2 teams, 2 families, right? 5, 6 people that are competing to win the game. Starts off with a face-off. They ask a question. For example, what's a popular fast food restaurant? So the top maybe 6 answers or so on the board. That varies. One contestant will guess, the first one to buzz in. Let's say he says McDonald's. Bing, top answer, 40 votes. So 40 being 40 out of 100 or 40%. The other person has a chance to reply. In that case, they wouldn't get a better answer. But if they did, it go to that family versus the other. So then it goes back to the family, and then the family goes through and they get to guess other answers. And then when they get to the end, it goes back to the rival family. If they get another question that's still on the board, they get the points. It goes back and forth like this. There's variations depending on the round and things like that.
Yeah, so if you imagine a family of like 5 people all in a row, and then the host goes down one by one and allows them each to guess. And you can get up to 3 wrong answers as a family before it reverts to the other team. But that's a decent amount of guesses because some are going to be correct and some maybe less so. Mm-hmm. And they have this noise which we might try to sub in to show. And it is, it is entertaining for what it is.
Yeah, and they interject like the host will ask questions about the family and there'll be a little bit of drama and they'll argue with each other. So it can lead to some funny situations.
And it tries to be humorous and light. And yes, sometimes one of the family members will guess something that's a terrible guess and everyone doesn't like them for that.
Mm-hmm. So there are multiple rounds, a lot of nuance. This is the basic idea. The answers on the board presumably reflect the will of the American people. So that's sort of what the everyman thinks. So the real skill of Family Feud is not to think in a novel way, but to try to think like the most basic average person that could exist. But how does this work? Is there even a real survey? I wondered if these answers were just made up. So I investigated, and I found some similarly skeptical people, but with a bit of digging, I found an explanation of how the system really does work. The show started airing back in 1976, and how this data was collected has changed over the years. When it first started, the show didn't even exist, so they would take survey questions to audience members of other game shows, including Match Game, The Price is Right, and To Tell the Truth. Since people attending game shows are usually not from the area, these surveys ended up being asked of people that were from all over the U.S. These game shows generally taped in California, but the audience members were from everywhere. So this avoids regional bias where the respondents might be disproportionately from a certain area so that their answers wouldn't be biased to align more with, one family of contestants or another. Maybe you've got a family from California and you got another that's from New Jersey, and it's not going to be the same thing at all.
Top restaurant of Los Polos Hermanos. This is why you need geographical fairness.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, the first episodes of the show included an address asking for viewers to write in if they wanted to be part of surveys using future shows. Thousands of people wrote in, but they, again, needed to avoid regional bias. They split a map of the U.S. into 4 different sections and mailed out surveys to people in those 4 sections evenly. So a single survey had 50 questions and was sent to 200 people so that they'd be sure to get 100 back. The first 100 that were received were counted. Those are the official ones.
They're getting a 50% return rate?
Well, they would get more than 50%, but they had to send twice as much to be sure they'd get 50%
okay,
back.
But still, that's a very high return rate.
That's very high for mail.
Yeah, most surveys are like 5% or less.
But these are people who wrote in explicitly who wanted
No, I get it.
to
It's a selection effect for sure.
Yeah. So sometimes answers needed to be combined to other answers with similar ideas, right? So if you got like jewelry, necklace, and bracelet, this might be combined into jewelry and be one answer. And since only the top sort of X number of answers were on the board, some low response answers would not be included. And when a player would guess it, they would lose, even if like 1 or 2 people would have said it. And different rounds have different numbers of answers and different cutoffs. So in the fast money rounds, they would have any answer with more than 2 respondents saying it. But when they actually sort of show the board with a normal round, you can have like 15 answers on the board. So they would cut it off at a lower number. It's like 6 to 8, something like that. This mailing process continued through many hosts and iterations of the show right until 1995. A scanned page of this survey can be found in the explanation of this process on the National Museum of Play website, which is linked in our show notes at trcpodcast.com.
Survey says, great website.
The one on the page is listed as survey number 732, and it reads, and I quote, "Please tell us your answer to these questions. Also, be sure that it is a specific rather than a general answer. Please answer all questions seriously. Please return as soon as possible. Thanks."
What percentage of politicians do you think are lizard people? 7%. Bing!
So participants would get swag like a bumper sticker or button that says, "I'm a Family Feud Polie." So there are real people that were like this.
Yes.
And even if I don't know any personally.
It just brought a smile to my being to think that this is part of someone's identity.
Oh, yeah.
And it brings them some happiness. And yeah, sure, why not? What a nice little pleasant thing in the world.
Absolutely. Now, times do eventually change. When the show returned in 1999, they hired a third-party company to do the surveys. Applied Research West does phone interviews with 100 people and then tabulates those results, which are then presumably grouped or pruned as they had previously been. And they do so with random digit dialing to attempt to avoid regional bias. So there's no big conspiracy. The answers aren't made up or fake. The hardworking folks at Family Feud and Applied Research West have used mail and phone to ask a varied American sample these thousands of survey questions for the past 50 years. If the results of any of these surveys baffle you, might I suggest that you're simply out of touch with the average American.
That's neat. Of all the times I've been asked to do a survey, I've never been asked to do one like that. But that's one I would do.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I got 10 minutes for this. This benign, ridiculous, light survey and maybe influencing the entertainment of daytime television game shows.
Yeah. I think it'd be really fun to be involved with that. I've never been to a game show. I think that would be like a fun experience to be in the audience for a game show. Obviously, a lot of people enjoy doing it when you look at the crowds and the prices right. It's a big thing.
Yeah, well, especially in that situation where you could, in theory, become part of the show.
Yep.
When most game shows, like, you're just in the crowd. You're not, can't be a participant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Adam. And thanks for joining us once again. I covered Moltbook AI and how it's not quite what it seems, but it might be interesting in its own right. We'll see how things look by the time you hear this. And Adam explored the world of Family Feud surveys and how they conduct the research, apparently legitimately.
Mm-hmm.
Until next time, think better, to act better.
Peace out, cuboids.
For show notes or to discuss this episode, visit our Facebook page and website at trcpodcast.com. For general inquiries or to send a topic or parody suggestion, email info@trcpodcast.com. Help support the show by leaving a review on iTunes and liking us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at TRC_podcast.
Outtakes.
All my mutterings don't need to be in there. Humans have been using... Sorry, those are humans. Survey says the AIs have taken over.
Bing! We'll put in the sound effect there.
Survey says, great website.
Bing!